Sorry, sound horrible. I'm very sick, but I wanted to get this review done while it's fresh in my mind. So, this is Queen of Song and Souls by l.wilson. This is the fourth book in the Tairen Souls Series. If by any chance you've stumbled upon this review and you haven't read any of the other books, stop, go back, and read the first books. The first book is Lord of the Fadylands. Lord of the Fadylands. Okay, that's the very first book, and they'll start you off. Now, I will say this book is a great book. It kept me interested. It got my mind wandering. It pulled on my heartstrings, and it even made me mad. But when I say made me mad, I was like, ooh. And that's why I like rereading books, because the perception you have when you're younger is not the perception you're going to have when you're older, or after you first read a book. Because you can read a book and love it and love all the characters, and then you read it and you're like, what? And that's what happened in this book. Okay. So, this may contain spoilers, and I'm sorry, but it's just going to. I will give this book a 4 out of 5, and the only reason I didn't give it a 5 is because some characters pissed me off. Made me shake my head like, y'all should know better. But anyway, so this book is, after Ellie and Rain, they save the Tairen, they get kicked out of the Fadylands because people don't trust what's going on, which you can't blame them. I mean, Ellie is a wild card. Nowhere in the thousands of years that some of these people have been alive have they even heard, seen, or dealt with something like that, and that scares people. The unknown scares people. Ellie is extremely powerful. She doesn't even know how to control her powers. And the thing is, she does miraculous things instinctively. But instinctively can only take you so far. So, Ellie and Rain, they get banished and they have to deal with it. So, they have to go try to talk to the elves, because they're elves in this book, to try to get some help. And, they're like, oh, okay, well, let's take you to the king. Our elf king asked you to come months ago. You didn't show up. So that's going to play a pivotal role. Ellie's having nightmares. The mage has marked her again. And in this book, when you speak, the mage can claim your soul. And when you spin a magic Azeron or whatever it's called, I'm not sure, he can mark it. So they're trying to stop the mage from getting a hold of Ellie, because they're like, yo, she's too powerful. If he gets her, the whole world's going to end. And basically, like every oracle they've consulted, it's the same thing. If she falls, the world is done. Well, Ellie and Rain, they go to the elves, and the elves king's like, look, I wanted to hear months ago. Her song has begun. She sings the song and the dance. And the dance is kind of like fate. So what they call Ellie is a fate changer. And everyone's like, what do you mean? They're like, yo, she's going to decide basically the fate of the world. You should have brought her here when we asked. So no one's happy. Well, we finally figure out who Ellie's parents are. Oh, and people are not happy that the elves, or the elf king, kept who her parents were a secret. They're like, you let this happen to them? And he was like, there's nothing I could do. For her to be born, they had to go through this. He was like, do you think that this made me happy? I loved her mother. And Ellie's the only one's like, yo, he did what he had to do so I could be born. It was not easy. He has no pleasure in life. He's isolated himself. Which I feel bad for him, but then I don't. You sat and watched somebody that you love get tortured for over 1,000 years, about 1,000 years. Countless people have gotten captured, tortured, while you sat back and watched. Which deems this book an interesting question that everyone's had. If you know the fate of the world, do you change things, or do you let it right out? Because if you change one thing, it could change another thing. But again, that's the catch-22. What do? He needed Elisenda to be born. She had to be born. Well, come to find out, no one's happy with this. But Ellie's compassionate. Now, Queen Aurora. I don't like Queen Aurora at all. She's manipulative. She's a brat. But her upbringing, again, is what shaped her. She swears that her husband loves the Fae more than he loves her, which is not the case. But he knows her pursuit of power. And he also knows if the Fae is right and our ancient enemy, the Eld, is coming back, we're screwed. Because they're going to enslave us all. She got mad because he had her check for mage marks. Which I get. I would be hurt too. Like, you didn't think to tell me. But then again, why would we tell you so you can throw a fit when you've been disparaging these people? He had himself checked. So what makes you think he's not going to have you checked? And of course, the big shocker here is a bunch of normal women are pregnant, and all these babies are having magical powers. Which, if you read the second book, you know Ellie had a part in, because it was at that palace dinner. Now, these books take place in the course of 3 months, if I have my times right. And, like I said, this book, this one had me in my feelings. And I've rambled on enough about the book. Just read it because it's good. Now, I'm going to say something about some side characters. You got Ardo, who was part of Ellie's quintet when he first came from the Faded Lands. He found his roommate Talisa. She's married to a lord, a powerful lord. This woman thinks it's okay, just go sneak it off with this Fae because they have this sensitive Shabbat. Which, don't get me wrong, I understand. It's a powerful bond. But you made an oath to God to honor your husband. You waited till you were 25, the last possible second, to wait for this man who never showed up. So you need to honor your vows. And she was giving this excuse to her dad, like, don't you want me to be happy? And her dad basically put her in her place. Like, what are you talking about, chick? He was like, nah, you're not going to call that daddy girl's tears on me. You have a responsibility as a daughter of a high lord of court. You married another high, powerful lord of court. This is not the behavior that you're supposed to be exhibiting, young lady. And his dad was like, when your mother died, it took everything I did not to kill myself, to put my knife to my throat, because I loved her. But guess what? Now I have another woman who's pregnant with my child. I had to marry her to uphold my duty. So I do know about my duty. Like, she tried to do that little, I'm going to guilt my dad thing into it. And he was like, no, you were wrong. You were dead wrong. You not only was dishonorable to your husband, to your country, you basically committed treason, and you had Ardo tamper with your husband's mind, which Fae aren't supposed to do. So Ardo was like, look, we got caught. I'm going to just admit it, and I'm going to be sentenced to death. So, and then Dorian, he's pissed because he's like, y'all knew he was still here and you didn't tell me. Which, I get it, you know, things are a little tricky between everything. So, should have Rain and Ellie pulled him aside and say, look, he's going to still be here, but he's not going to let her know. I think he should have, because he should have enough faith in Dorian. But hindsight's 20/20. They didn't know which way Dorian was going to turn. But that's enough of me rambling. It's been about almost 10 minutes. Like I said, this is definitely a read. This is a 4 out of 5. And I'm only giving it a 4 out of 5 because so many people are aggravating me this book. Like, oh, you don't even know. I was like, oh. I will tell you this. The next book is a 5 out of 5. The next book is a 5 out of 5. And the next book is this one. Crown of Crystal Flame. And as you can see, it's well read, well worn. This book's 5 out of 5. This one is a 4 out of 5. So, alright guys. Like I said, if you didn't read this one first, I mean, if you're trying to read this one first, go back and read Lord of the Faded Lands. Then it is Lady of Light and Shadows. That is King of Sword and Sky. Then Queen of Song and Souls. And then the last book is Crown of Crystal Flames. I may just do a whole video on the whole book collection in total, but I'm not sure. But, alright guys, have a good day, and I will see you guys later. Bye.